All right, y'all. It's your girl. Hopping on the mic today to discuss a couple hot topics that we've been talking about over the last couple of weeks. One of them is how we're just living the dream. We're just living the dream now. We're living the dream. And by dream, I mean nightmare. Or, depending on how you look at it. I mean, to be honest with you, we've all come a really long way. And, some of us listening to this now, I can probably tell you or maybe in the thick of it, in the trenches is what I call it, where you don't know what side is up. You have no idea what's going on. Your faith is completely in shambles. Your skin hurts. You're miserable. You have no idea who a friend is or your family, what the hell they're doing, what they're thinking. You're devastated. And I get it. And to be honest, before Brody died, I didn't even realize the word of devastated. I mean, I had some pretty horrible breakups. I had a dream business that I had to sell because of injuries. It's devastating. But this is next level. Next level. So the cool thing about it is that after you get out of the trenches, you still have to figure shit out. And one of those things that happens that I have realized now 2 years later, and it's still happening, is what happens to our ability to make decisions. You know, that thing that you have to decide on when you have choices or options. I got to tell you, I didn't even know what I wanted to eat. That's why when people would text me like, what can I do? I'm like, I don't fucking know. Like, I have no idea. Figure it out. Figure it out. Don't make me come up with stuff for you to help me with. And I get it. It's nice of people to offer. 100% understand that. I was probably that girl back in the day. But now, whenever somebody's going through it, my message to them is, hey, I'm going to do one of the three things you pick. Drop off food, take your kids out, get a cleaner. Like, like give people, hey, which one do you want? Let them just, and I'm still like that. Shoot. My husband asked me what I want for dinner. Fucking, I have no idea. No idea. Sometimes I'm like 100% with pizza. I want nothing else, but that rarely happens. So what happens after loss is your brain goes into this functionality of nothing is simple. Nothing is just inconvenient or a minor situation. It's life or death. Like Wolfie got sick. Wolfie got sick last week, 103 fever. Took him to the doctor, very congested. Took him to the doctor. They tested him and he had a RSV and flu B. What? Both? Kid was miserable. He struggled. I mean, it was really hard to watch. But we did all the things. We had to take him to the hospital once before, back in like November. We were visiting Michael's family in Virginia, and he spiked a fever and was miserable and only wanted to be held. And I was like, something's up. And I made the decision at 2 o'clock in the morning to go to the hospital. And that's the thing. Like, we come to a point where truly, actively making a decision means potentially doing something you don't want to do. My mind was, if I don't do this, he will die. That's where I was at. So then I had to accept, wow, we got to go to a fucking hospital. Ew, 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 ew. Nobody wants to do that. So we did. And I was happy we did because it was peace of mind that they said, look, his lungs are clear. All we're going to do is treat this with Motrin and Tylenol and call your doctor and make sure you see them when you get home. Okay, great. Now, this time around, he was rough. It was rough. It was probably the worst I've ever seen him. And he's had like a couple head colds since he was born. But at 9 months old, we did the things. We did the Motrin, we did the Tylenol, and we sat him upright while he slept. We did the Epsom salt baths. We took him outside while it was cold out to get his temperature to come down. We did the snot sucker like every hour. And my husband would do the one that's man powered. And then I ordered I guess it's like Dr. Nose Bot. It's like a motor. Shit's great. Like we did that one. We did all the things, trying desperately not to let the RSV go into his chest. They were saying, if his temperature spikes, it's going to, could be pneumonia. You might have to go to CHOA, which is the Children's Hospital here in Atlanta. Look, like freak out central because RSV is such a thing where you're like, this kid's gonna die in the hospital. It's like your brain just goes into spiral mode because there's no other options for us sometimes. I mean, our perfectly healthy baby died. Mine at term was stillborn. One at 160 pregnancies and then stillbirth. And it's like, why would I not be the one who gets my child sick and dies? Like, why not? So that's what ends up happening to us. And I've talked to my therapist about this, and I've talked to other moms about this. And this is just part of the whole thing. It's just part of understanding now that we're not immune to suffering. We're not immune to bad things happening. We just have to kind of expect it. And what loss actually does is preps us to handle the devastation and the suffering that happens as a human being in future events. Literally. I mean, you'd think after going through one of the worst things a human can go through, the death of your baby, that you would just get a pass. Well, doesn't really happen. I mean, for me, at least with Wolfie had to go to the NICU. Wolfie came early. He wasn't supposed to. And so I was like, okay, cool. So, this is where we're at. This is how we're going to roll. What has helped me in the anxiety of trying to prevent bad things from happening is realize that bad things can and probably will happen. What am I going to do if they happen? What is my game plan? Now, after having to get Wolfie to a hospital, I've decided that if he gets sick and I can't get the fever down, we're going to the hospital, period. And we're just going to roll with it then. I'm not going to fight it. I'm not going to keep him in a bubble. I'm not going to flip out if he gets sick. I'm going to try not to. Shit. But we are going to have a game plan. We've got stocked with children's Motrin and Genexa, and we have thermometers. We have Epsom salts. We have car seats that sit up that he can sleep in. We have an owlette. P.S. The owlette, y'all probably have heard of it. I know a lot of lost mamas have it because it's peace of mind because we were thinking, our babies, even though they come home alive, they could die. So, but the owlette recently had an upgrade or an update, excuse me. I think it's an upgrade because now it's monitoring oxygen and heartbeat in real time. So before it was like 10-minute chunks, it was more like a sleep aid, which it's still kind of a sleep aid because I don't think they could say it's like medical device, but it's monitoring it as it is. So like I can literally watch his heartbeat, like his heart rate, and I can watch his oxygen levels. And if they drop, it alerts you immediately. So thank God for that thing. I stared at it. And the only way I slept was that thing. But we monitored, we were back and forth. Michael and I did rotations, making sure somebody was in the room with him, making sure, he was good. So, we have a game plan. Yeah, of course, horrific things can happen. And I know mamas right now who are in the hospital with their babies with RSV and it happens. And sometimes it's out of our control. And that's something as lost mamas, we don't like to hear. Sometimes, though, it is comforting. It is comforting to know that we can live our lives and do our absolute best, but there's just only so much we can control. So here we are. I think with lived experiences and in continuously doing things and seeing that it's not catastrophic will eventually reprogram our brains to start thinking a little bit more clearer of, hey, this is just something that happens and this is how I'm going to handle it. Now, there are some things that constitute panic, sheer panic, 100%. Me trying to decipher which those are is what's going on right now, 2 years later, parenting a living child. Now, this happened a lot with pregnancy after loss. Part of the reason why I spiraled was trying to make decisions for the best of the baby and not essentially really knowing what that was. Thinking that if I took that or ate that or did that, that it could mean the death of the baby. And I know you guys know if you've done pregnancy after loss or you're doing it now, you know what I'm saying. And most of the time, the doctors looked at me like, hey, listen, that has absolutely no bearing on the death of the baby or not. Like, that has absolutely nothing to do with anything. But your brain is consistently like, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? And not even just pregnancy or baby related, human related. Like Michael, if I was like, hey, Michael, I want some ice cream. I'm thinking if I tell him to go to the store and he gets in an accident and dies, that's my fault. Holy, what? My brain does that, y'all. My brain does that. but that is called life after loss, life with loss. Like, but it's like that movie Sliding Doors. Did you ever see that movie? It was like Gwyneth Paltrow. It's old. It's probably, yeah, it's at least 20 years old. But it's that movie where I think she's like running towards the subway and two things happen. One, she makes the subway. Two, the doors close in front of her and she doesn't make it. Okay. And what ends up happening, spoiler alert, is she makes it and ends up coming home early to find her like boyfriend or husband cheating on her. And it changes the whole course of her life. Or she misses the subway, can't get another one, finally gets on one, gets to her house, and all things are normal. And she continues her this weird, sad life. Something like that. I don't know. I'm gonna go watch it again. But I always think about that. It's like the decisions that we make, we're just minutes or luck or timing away from a weird outcome happening. So sometimes I'm like, oh, damn this traffic. Okay, well, maybe if I wasn't in this traffic right now, I would get hit by a semi. Or maybe I'm supposed to be in this traffic right now. You know what I'm saying? Have mercy, I exhaust myself. But this is it. But I will say, after Birdie died, and then I had Wolfie, I was that girl that was like, what if I accidentally trip and fly over the railings while I'm holding him? But that stopped. That completely stopped. Like, because lived experiences have shown me that's not going to happen. It's just it hasn't happened. It's not going to happen. And I'm now able to function without all these crazy intrusive thoughts. But it's with time, y'all, and reprogramming our brains. And it's possible. It's possible to do. I think there's always going to be a level of heightened awareness or weird paranoia with us. 100%. We're moms. And I think we would be like that even if our babies didn't die. I think we'd still be crazy moms. And there's tons of crazy moms to living babies everywhere. Um, and there's tons of crazy moms that are just crazy in general who have never experienced loss. So we just have to decide how we're going to handle it and not let it completely incapacitate us. And I'm getting better. I think after this last sickness, this was probably his third. It's just been kind of like, okay, well, we're equipped to handle it next time. And no one else around me is panicking. He's now old enough to handle it. It's just me as a mom having to watch him go through that is extremely painful. It's really hard to not be able to help him or make him better, but we got through it. And that's the thing. It's about trusting our guts a lot of the time, you know? It's that feeling in the pit of the stomach. And what really sucks is I think a lot of us had that before our babies died and we were blown off or we second guessed it or somebody told us something otherwise and we were like, oh, all right, never mind. But when I go back and think, my gut was screaming at me. And then with Wolfie's pregnancy, my gut was so freaking strong that I couldn't ignore it. And it's come down to this. My brain is too convoluted and crazy and griefy to like really, not even just griefy all the time, but just like it's got too much information. And then my heart is a little bit chipped away at, I would say, and it's kind of wanting certain outcomes. So I will try to steer things to go a certain way. But my gut is screaming what I need to do. And then I need to listen to it. And truly, truly, fully following your gut is making a decision that you don't like the outcome of. Let me explain. Wolfie came early. Some of y'all know that. At 32 weeks and 4 days, my water broke in the middle of the night while I was sleeping. Hauled ass to the hospital. Take whatever you've seen in a movie, multiply that by 10. This bitch was screaming, okay? It was not cool. Meanwhile, meanwhile, before all that happened, we were trying to pick an induction date, and I was having the worst time ever picking an induction date. Why? Because I got approved for 36 weeks to get induced. Both my MFMs and my doctors all said, yep, 36 weeks works for us. Partially for mental reasons, because my anxiety and was getting really, really out of hand. So I was terrified of the NICU, terrified of the NICU because in our little land of loss, babies die in the NICU. And I thought, if he goes in the NICU, he's dying. So, but if he stays in me, he could die. What the fuck's the right move? This is what I was doing. It was making me nuts. It was making me so crazy that I could not pick an induction date. And I said, hey, Wolfie, you tell me. I know you're going to make the calls here. And I told my therapist this. I told Michael this. I told my doctors this. I said, hey, I can't make a decision on this yet. Wolfie's going to tell me when he's coming. Swear to God. I know. What? My gut was like, this kid is going to call the shots. And he did. Water broke at 32 weeks. Okay, I don't know about you guys, but I apparently don't understand how things work. I thought water breaking means shit's bad and it's going down and this is all hell breaking loose. I was not having contractions that I knew of. Like I couldn't feel them or that I could and I wasn't recognizing them as contractions. But I was like at 32 weeks, this is bad. This is bad. This is bad. So I got to the hospital. They determine I'm not really in active labor. So they're like, okay, hey, get comfy. We're going to keep him in for 2 more weeks. 34 weeks seems to be the magic number. That's what everybody had been saying. Just get to 34. Just get to 34. So I said, okay, let's post up and get to 34. Well, of course, Wolfie starts to decel. His heartbeat starts to drop. And I mean, when I say drop, so much that the monitors couldn't pick it up for minutes. I'm going to bypass the details of this and just give you kind of like the facts. Cause like when I say I was flipping the fuck out, like screaming, I mean, it was horrible. Anyway, when I got to the hospital, I was like, we're going to keep him in. We're keeping him in as long as we possibly can. I do not want to go to the NICU. Doctors kept saying, hey, listen, 32 weeks plus 4 is fine for the NICU. Like you really need to consider it. And I would be like, fuck off. No, we're not doing this. I'm telling you right now, when I realized that this baby was potentially going to die in my stomach by compressing his cord, like Brody did, there was a light switch. And I said, I don't want to do this, but I have to do this. Get him out now. His heartbeat had dropped for 8 minutes. It was, if it did it again, it may not have. I was like, you know what? No, get him out. I did not like the outcome of my decision to get him out then, but I had to do it anyway. I had to. My gut was like, get him out because if he stays in you, shit's going down. And that's the thing. We have to trust our guts on this, you guys, because what else are we going to go on? Doctors are going to give their opinions. I had 16 doctors come in and out being like, me, well, we could do this. And I'm like, no, hey, listen, I'm the captain now. Well, this is what we're doing. And I said, get him out. And they said, okay, giddy up. And we got him out in and out, like in 60 seconds, he was out. So, and then we started the NICU. NICU's another story, and I'll probably do another episode on the NICU after loss because holy shit, that is something that we don't talk about. I think it's rare. So here I was again in another rare category, but again, it was a decision that I had to make and I put him in the NICU. So I was dealing with, oh my God, did I make a mistake? Did I make a mistake? But I have to keep going back to that moment where I was like, my gut is screaming, we got to get him out. And then when we went back to my 8-week appointment, my follow-up, the doctors were like, yo, listen, you made the right call. You made the right call. I don't think if you had made that call, he would be here. Like, what? Pardon me while I pass out. So honest to God, I mean, it's so easy for me to sit here and say things like this, but here's what my point is. I had to make a decision that he was safer outside of me than inside of me. And that's what it all comes down to. Brody was safer outside of me than inside. He was compressing his cord. I don't know the placement of it because no one ever looked. No one ever told me. But apparently he was continuously compressing it throughout the pregnancy to the point one day he compressed it so much he didn't wake back up. And that means we probably should have gotten him out earlier. And his placenta was going to end up failing, and we probably should have gotten him out earlier. And there's a lot of different things that show that babies are struggling in there. Now, if you have a baby with growth restriction, if you have a baby that has a cord around them, if you are seeing something that's causing distress, you have every right to say, my gut is saying we need to get them out. Have that conversation with your doctor because that's what it all comes down to. I'm not even making this up. I've heard from 1,000 professionals say the decision that they have to make comes down to is the baby safer in or the baby safer out. I just had a doctor look at me saying, hey, next pregnancy, if we decide that this baby is safer out, we're going to make that call. Holy shit. Okay. Safer in the NICU, Safer in my belly, safer on planet Earth, safer in my belly. Which one is it? And that's the thing. If I hadn't have educated myself on what cord compressions meant, then I may not have made that decision. So trust yourself. If you are pregnant after loss, I guarantee you, you know way more than a lot of people. Trust your gut, trust your knowledge, trust your instincts, and don't be afraid of making the decision, even though you hate the outcome. I know, right? Easier said than done. But that's what happened with me. Take it for what you want. Take it for what it's worth. I'm just here to shed some light. And I will be honest, I have told this story several times to people inside my circle and professionals, therapists, doctors, everything, and no one is refuting this. No one is saying, "Bitch, this is terrible advice." So it was been read back to me that this was the only thing that I could go on. I mean, what's the alternative? You make a decision that your gut is saying no to, and the outcome is not ideal. You're gonna blame the shit out of yourself again. And I'm preaching to the choir here, I know that, but I am also preaching to myself because I need reminders. I need reminders. Trust your gut. Trust your gut. I need to come up with a different phrase. What's your belly say? Mine says, I'm hungry. Yeah. What's your gut tell you? Didn't they say it like Sex in the City? That's funny ass scene. A scene probably can't have any movies anymore. Hilarious though. The movie Sex in the City. But y'all, it's not easy. That's the thing. All of this is hard. All of it is. So why fight it? Why fight the hard? All of it's going to be. So make the decisions that you think are best for you at the time. Somebody messaged me prepping for a growth restricted baby and having to do the NICU. Okay, well, that's a decision that you're going to have to make. But ease some anxiety saying, okay, well, if I have to make this decision, this is what I'm going to do. This is how I'm going to handle it. And this is how I'm going to get through the NICU. And this is what I'm going to do. And this is what I need to expect. That's fantastic to prep yourself for maybe how, if you don't like the outcome of the decision, what are we going to do? And I think that helps with pregnancy after loss as well. Yeah. Hey, listen, I was like, with Wolfie, I was like, oh my God, I can't have another baby with lack of fetal movement or like decrease in, I can't, but what the fuck? It happened once because he was like hiding. What did I do? Went to L&D. And then from here on out, if I feel weird, I go to L&D. If I feel weird, I go to L&D. Like, that's it. Because guess what? You're going to feel weird. You're going to have flip outs. You're going to have panic attacks. You're going to have spirals. What are you going to do? What's your plan of action if this happens? If you don't feel movement, what's your action? Get the fuck to the hospital. That's what helped me. So that's kind of where I'm at with my decision making right now. I'm going to spiral and then I'm going to realize it's fine. That's kind of what we're doing right now. But with time, I think that's going to get better. So you guys, listen, we're doing the best we can, just raw dogging it out there, just lost life. No one tells you what to do, just kind of figuring it out. And then you have people like me just saying, hey, this is what I did. Hope it helps. And I do. I hope it helps. And that's what this is for. So if you guys have any additional questions on this, feel free to hit me up on the IG or send me an email or something. I'm really bad at answering right now. I'm not going to lie. I'm up to my face. But I think after this year, I'm going to be in the clear and I'm going to be really, really diving a lot more into this kind of stuff. And I hope you guys like these solo episodes because I'm going to be doing a lot more of them. I think it's really great to hop on a microphone and address your guys' concerns. Keep it short, sweet, and simple. This is on YouTube as well. So if you're listening, go check it out on YouTube and hit me up with a comment. And if you are on YouTube right now, drop a comment. Be nice. I'll delete you if you're not. And hit me up with any questions you guys have. I'd love to get some insight on how you feel. But again, thanks for even trying to educate yourself and learning about yourself and trying to navigate this. Because if you just dug a hole and went into it, I think that's way harder. I think it's like navigating this blindly would just be like really, really challenging. So there's a lot of resources out there, and thank you for considering me one of them. Again, yeah, I love you guys. Good luck out there, and hit me up if you have any questions.